Did you hear that?
I did. We're being recorded. Who's listening?
Hold on. I wonder if that even picked up in the actual recording itself. I've never heard that before.
I've never heard that either. But we
Wow.
are being recorded.
We are Big
I
Brother
can
is
leave the
watching.
meeting or I can stay. Should I stay or should I go? Should I stay or should I go now? Anyway.
And that is the beginning of the 50th episode of The Cinnamon.
Very on brand for us.
Very, very on brand.
Very, what the hell is happening right now for us?
Very top of the show shenanigans. We are here celebrating the 50th episode of this here show.
Ooh, I forgot. I didn't realize we were. There we go. I gotta, yeah. So crisp and so clean. You'd think it was made by Outcast.
Cheers to everyone who has listened to at least one or two of these 50. We appreciate you sticking on with us. Or if you're new to this, thanks for hopping in and checking it out, man.
Absolutely. It has been a pretty crazy and long road. I just pulled this up.
Do we want to save all this for the end when we talk about 50
whatever works. I'm good either way.
Let's save it for the end.
Okay. Save it for the end. I will not tell you what I was thinking then.
Yeah, you will probably forget 10 minutes from now.
I will not. I have notes.
It's me, your boy C, one of the hosts of This Bit of Business, and I'm joined, as always, by the wonderful Mr. Douglas Davidson. How are you doing today, sir?
Wait, I'm doing fine. I'm not effervescent this time. Every now and then, you call me effervescent.
Every now and then, man. Every now, I gotta make you want it, man. Because if I call you effervescent all the time. Wait a minute, is that you in an Alka-Seltzer commercial, sir?
I'm effervescent.
Oh, okay, with your bubbly ass.
Either that or I'm trying to get the attention of your cat. It's one or the other.
I just had to kick him out of the room, actually, before I invited you into the conference. Anything new in your world over there, sir?
Loads going on. Before we got on mic, I was telling you about just some craziness that happened over the last 24 hours in terms of, as Crystal put it, I think it's, she was quoting Captain Cold from the Arrowverse. Make the plan, execute the plan. The plan goes wrong throughout the plan. That's basically been the last 24 hours. Apparently, and you and I were talking about this last year on Netflix, The Lovebirds debuted, and it was originally a Paramount joint before it went to Netflix. Apparently it's getting a home release, and this is worth mentioning, if only because I am so hoping that other properties that were done like that will also get a home release. I would love a home release of The Mitchells versus the Machines, which was originally Sony Animation before they sold it over there. I would love to have that. This release, they only sent me a DVD, which is fine, and it's got bonus features on it. So I've got deleted scenes. It's got an uncut version of it. It's what I love home releases for. So it's stuff like that popped up. But since our last recording, I have seen 3 things that I have got to tell you about.
All right, I have seen 3 things. I can leave or take all of them if we need to be cut for time.
This will be more or less quick and easy. Are you familiar with Bo Burnham?
Yeah.
Outside of like Promising Young Woman and
he was a comedian before anything else, right?
What's that?
He was a comedian before anything else.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
I have seen none of his comedy. The thing that introduced me to him was him being on Parks and Rec, playing an asshole country performer.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of his comedy?
It's not my flavor. I've attempted it, and I'm like, this is kind of corny, and moved on with my day.
And I get that because, comedy is, well, I mean, like any other form of art, it's subjective. But with comedy in particular, it has to go with your sensibilities, as it were.
Yeah.
Well, I'd been hearing Bo Burnham released we'll call it a comedy special called Inside on Netflix. And it, I guess, hit at the time of this recording the previous Friday, and everybody was singing its praises. So I ended up with some free time. Crystal had some stuff to do, so I've got Preston. I put it on, and I was sobbing by intermission. Okay. It is heavy, y'all. For those of you that don't know, it's a comedy special. He created, wrote, directed, edited everything during isolation in the pandemic by himself. It's got some crazy fucked up comedic bits, but it is some of the most soulful sort of depressing, but in a humanistic kind of way where holy shit, we're all like this. We've all been going through this. It is one of my favorite films so far of the year. It will definitely be on my best of list for the total year. Where it falls in the number, I'm not sure yet. But highly recommend that. It is on Netflix, as I said. The next two are documentaries, and both of them are very, very different. The first one is a documentary called The Penny Black. It was directed by Joe Saunders. It should be available now on digital streaming services and VOD. It's described as a documentary noir, and that is the best way to describe it. It is a story following a guy by the name of Will, who standing outside of his apartment complex smoking. He ended up having the company of one of his neighbors by the name of Roman, a Russian guy who went, "Hey, can you do me a favor and hold on to a package for me? I'm just leaving town for 2 weeks. You don't know me. I don't know you. You've got nothing against me. I feel like I can trust you." Okay, sure, fine. Gives him the package. They open it up. It's nothing but stamps. It's just a couple of big packages, some loose leaf stuff of stamps. Gives it to him. 2 weeks go by, doesn't come back. A couple more weeks go by, doesn't come back. Well, Will ends up moving. And then he moves again. All the while, he's trying to figure out who is Roman, can he find Roman, whatever else. And a documentary crew ends up following Will on this journey, partially because Will's father is a con man, a notorious one, and the apple may not fall far from the tree. This thing goes some wild places. At 15 minutes left in this documentary, my internet went, "Fuck you!" And I was livid. So highly recommend that. I'll have a full spoiler-free review coming to Elements of Madness soon. And then, of course, the last documentary, this one comes from Shout Factory. This one's a little bit more uplifting, but in a very different way than, say, Bo Burnham's Inside. But it's from James Kicklighter. It's called The Sound of Identity. It's as I said, it's a documentary, but this one follows Lucia Lucas, a transgender opera singer who is the first in the world to perform the role of Don Giovanni. This happened in Tulsa for the Tulsa Opera in 2019, I believe. And it follows the 30 days ahead of her performance in sort of looking at what it means for the LGBTQ community, what it means for her as a performer, what it means for her as a transgender performer, just looking at different aspects of identity and what the weight of things, of the responsibility, how she handles that. It's really fantastic. If you don't know anything about John Giovanni, you won't know much more by the end of it. It's really not about the opera.
Right.
But I do recommend it. It's a very good documentary. And again, that one's on VOD and digital now.
Boom.
Yeah.
What
you got?
I like it. I am fully back in the theaters. I am hardcore back in the theaters. And
how are you feeling about that?
I mean, I'm feeling just fine. I'm very happy to be back. All I did last year was Tenet.
The whole year he just watched Tenet forward and
backwards, man. A couple things in January. January is notoriously shitty for movies. What was Emma in February? And then
I saw one of my favorite movies of the year in January, sir.
Okay.
Psycho Gorman is amazing.
For most of us, January is shitty. And then from February on, man, from February to September, which might have been the longest stretch I had not been in a theater for quite some time. Saw Tenet, saw it again a couple weeks later, and then from September till just a couple weeks ago, man, nothing. So I am happy to be back at church, thank God. I saw Cruella. It is the latest offering of Disney trying to make you sympathize with a serial puppy killer. It's
she hasn't killed any puppies yet. Even in the animated movie, she hadn't killed them. She wanted to.
She
didn't.
Okay. So for someone who wants to kill puppies, she can just get their hands on them. Hunter, one
I
of them, but
want to
get your
throw
hands
my
on one of them.
son out into traffic sometimes, but I haven't.
But you haven't. Oh, it's all that's, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is what self-control is all about.
The parents listening, they understand.
They totally do. Craig Gillespie, the director. You've seen Cruella?
I did.
What'd you think about it, man?
I enjoyed it. It's fun. The needle drops were, for me, excessive. When they served the scene, they were great. The boots were made for walking moment was wonderful. And apparently, spur of the moment in the shot you see in the film was the first take of it.
Oh, nice.
Which is great.
Nice.
But the fact that we get stone cold crazy for maybe 20 seconds just so they can drive down the road, come on. After a while, it just felt like we're doing a scene just so we could play a song.
Yay! That's exactly what I thought. The needle drops were excessive and gave the movie, between that and the score itself, gave the movie no time of its own just to breathe and be.
Yeah.
Which is part of my problem with it. It seems like a lot of people are beginning to chase this trend of needle drops. It was very successful in Guardians, Baby Driver, we saw it, and now it seems like it might be a thing. Which is not that bad, so long as you use it. Use your powers for good. Don't overuse it. Don't overdo it.
Nobody does needle drops so well because every song fits the scene and helps convey the mentality of the moment. Those worked beautifully. Here, there's some where it did, and others where, it was just excessive. I also didn't like how it was trying too much to wink and nod at the book and the previous films, where if you knew anything about them, you already knew the end of the movie within the first 10 minutes. Of course, there's that one scene that was taken out of context online, and that drove me crazy. Hate the movie, that one scene is not the reason to watch or not watch the movie.
Well, one scene rarely is a reason to not watch or not watch it. I ended up enjoying it more than I thought I would. It's got that punk rock vibe to it, which is not something I would expect out of a character or a story like this, but kind of giving it that mentality. In that 1970s counterculture feel, where that younger generation is challenging and the older established generation, and that's kind of what she's doing throughout with her fashion via that. I said on Twitter the other day that you could have taken all the Disney connections out of this, and it definitely could have been its own thing, and it might have been stronger had it been its own thing.
Yes,
it could have just been a crazy fashion movie.
Yeah. And I probably would have liked it even more without all of those things, because it wouldn't have had the connections that it had to have made. And for me, one small issue, and I know that this is a tiny little thing. You mentioned its punk rock sensibility. Coming from Disney, it was like faux punk. And for some reason that bugged me.
Disney.
It was like Hot Topic punk. You know what I mean? I mean, and I Look, I grew up listening to pop rock and jazz, so I am the last person. But in particular, when just recently I watched a documentary about the DC hardcore scene, that was punk.
Yes.
And then you've got Cruella, which is very much trying to tap into post-World War II, buildings are still falling apart. How do we deal with the infrastructure? Like you said, young versus old, new versus, what have you. It felt very polished in a Disney way that I was like,
Yeah.
But that was a me thing. But it's still fun. I would watch it again.
I enjoy it. I might watch it again. Might snatch at the daughter one of these days and sit down, because she hasn't seen it yet, and check it out.
See her walking by, snatch her, throw her in the theater. What's happening? Oh, it's Dad.
Oh, it's Dad. Oh, it's movies. All right.
Oh, okay.
I also saw Those Who Wish Me Dead.
Ooh, I haven't seen that yet. What'd you think?
Yeah, not a fan.
Oh.
You give me Taylor Sheridan, check. A westernish type joint, check, with Angelina Jolie and my boy Nicholas Hoult, checks. But man, it didn't fully do it for me. If you're unfamiliar with Those Who Wish Me Dead, it is on HBO Max right now.
In the ad-free tier.
In the ad-free,
you have to say
tier.
that now.
Yeah. It's about a dude who has caught the business dealings of some shady people, and they are onto him. So he's on the run with his son. He gets clapped up. That's in the trailer, so no big spoiler there. And his son is kind of forced to fend on his own in the Montana wilderness, where he stumbles across Angelina Jolie's character, who's a smoke jumper. She's kind of dealing with her own stuff from her firefighting days.
What's the difference between being a firefighter and a smoke jumper?
From what I can tell, I don't know.
Because
I looked, I asked that question, and I was like, what? And I didn't really get a full distinction. And you see that she's dealing with some occupational hazards that kind of tripped her up in the past. She's working through that, and this is kind of like a shot at redemption for her. The problem is that this plot it's thin, and he has said in interviews that he prefers a simple plot so he can just really let the characters build and shine. But at some point, I'm like, this plot is a little bit too simple for me. Okay. I think, but it's been over a decade since we got Angelina Jolie in the action movie, so I'm gonna take what I can get.
Really?
Yeah, man. Salt. I do believe Salt was her last joint.
Oh man, that was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Nicholas Howden, Aidan Gillen for Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. For all you Game of Thrones people, they are your pair of killers. Hey man, he's one of my favorite characters for a reason. Because fuck that guy. They are my favorite parts of this movie because
I've heard that.
Yeah, they are ruthless. They are very efficient. They are very very good with their time and how they operate. You can tell they're professional killers, and that lends a little bit of heft and credibility. Like, they're not hammy. They're not like some Three Stooges poke them in the eye and then the hero gets away. Like, no, these dudes are like, all right, plan A failed, let's fall back to plan B. Plan B failed, let's fall back to plan C. That failed, let's improvise. And it is that alone, their chemistry and how they pursue makes everything, I think, entertaining. But it still wasn't the greatest for me. I'm pretty sure I said in my review, you can watch it after work on the weekday, and there you go, you'll be fine. It's the bottom of the Taylor Sheridans for me. Like, Hell or High Water is still up there at the top as far as his directorial business, with Wind River right after that, and then Those Who Wish Me Dead.
Still haven't seen Wind River.
Wind River's some wild shit. You got Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch in there, man. Sold.
That's the only thing I know about it. Other than
it's just barren and frozen and miserable all throughout that movie, and I'm here.
Then I can't wait. You sold me. Thank you.
And just last night, not even 24 hours ago, I saw A Quiet Place Part 2. Have you seen this? You haven't seen this, have you?
I have not. As far as I know, there was not a screening here in town, and there was one a year ago. Canceled that shit.
Yeah.
And
I think this is the one where this is people's the last screening, because they went to the screening. It was supposed to come out that Friday, and in those gap of days is when everything shut down.
I was grading, and then I got sick, and my grandfather died within like days.
Mm-hmm.
So my last movie was Onward. I think it was March 3rd of last year. Anyway, but
yeah,
so you've seen it.
Part 2.
Do we need to whisper?
So here's how this movie goes. It's good, not as good as the first movie.
You went up a couple octaves. It's good.
Not as good as the first Quiet Place. It was that was a big hill to climb, I think. Yeah, expectations are a motherfucker after that first movie. Excuse me. There is one giant glaring flaw in this movie that really just kind of takes me out of it. And then, I'm walking out of the theater, I was like, and then the drive home, I was like, and then it hit me when I got home. I was like, wait a minute. So it was one of those type deals that kind of, they just didn't address very well or at all, honestly. Other than that, performances are great, man. This literally picks up minutes after A Quiet Place 1 ends.
I've seen an image where it looks like Blunt's character, I can't remember the character's name, is standing there with the baby with the burning house.
Yes.
So it does seem like it's kind of like, yay, we killed the alien and we figured out its noise. Get the fuck out.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's literal minutes after the end of Quiet Place 1. Emily Blunt just does great. Cillian Murphy, man, That after seeing him in this movie, I just want him in everything. He is my new survival guide. He is great. He does what he does best. Tortured loner man. And the tension is all there. The jump scares are, of course, there. A couple of questionable decisions, which makes me knock it down a couple of points, and then I can't put that over the first movie because of those questionable decisions. The first one, everything that happens, I'm like, makes sense, solid, tight. Here, I'm just like, why? And you see some of that is just to get character from here to here, or just specifically to build the tension. I'm like, kind of thin. I see behind the curtain on that, whereas I didn't get that with the first movie.
Gotcha. Sheer curiosity, where do you stand with the first one on the whole? It's irresponsible to get pregnant
in this world.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, in that world, I do get where why would you have why would you on purpose have a child? But at the same time, there's been a lot of folks who are like, oh, that's so dumb and it's a plot hole.
I can't remember how long it had. How long have they've been in the shit for a while?
Yeah,
right. And then they
do we know if that was while they lost their son?
That's right. The very beginning of the movie, because he had that fucking fire truck or whatever it was.
Yeah, that the sister gave him.
Yeah, the sister gave him. Yeah, which they do linger over that in the second movie. Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing it. You can't deny a person their impulses. I mean, if a family wants to be a fucking family, let them be a family. They're not hurting anybody else out in the middle of nowhere, which is pretty much where they lived at. So that's their decision to make. I think it's an unwise decision, but it's not. It's not selfish, I don't think. But if you think you can make it work, then make it work, I guess. I mean, they
parenting in a nutshell, really.
Right. They had this baby not assuming that the patriarchal figure would be dead mere months later.
Or the same night that the child is born.
Yeah, there you go.
God, that scene just breaks me up every time.
Yeah, I kind of wish I had a chance.
It's that scene that's the reason I don't yeet Connor straight into traffic.
Yes.
Like John Krasinski.
Him and his wonderful hair and his fine beard show up in his eyes. Some good news, Douglas. You don't have to do that.
Good news. Sorry, this just turned into Futurama.
So yeah, those are the three that I've seen recently, man. I have a something to check out here. Have you heard of True Mothers?
It sounds vaguely familiar. What's it about?
It was Japan's official entry for international foreign film. Got it from Kino Lorber in the mail the other day. So
nice.
That is my tomorrow watch.
Awesome. I never get anything from Kino Lorber.
Do you get emails from them? Because that's what I get.
I do. They don't respond to my emails. The last time I think they responded to an email was close to a year ago. According to my Facebook memories, I watched Lucky Grandma, which I've talked about on the podcast. Do recommend to folks. It is on home video now. I got to do the theatrical review, the virtual cinema review, and then the home release review, which was great. And that's it. Every time I put in a request since then, they've been like, new email, who dis? And okay. So I've just sort of stopped.
All right, yeah.
Fine. I get it.
Fair. That's like getting Warner Brothers.
Oh. Actually, that we'll talk about that off mic when you're not on time thing, because maybe I can help. Maybe not. Right. Maybe not. Who the fuck do I know? But anyway. So
we're here to celebrate, man.
We are actually. It's pretty damn exciting.
It's pretty damn exciting, man. Did you think we would make it a 50 of these?
I did not think you would put up with me this long. Yes, that is correct.
And here I am, sir. And here I am. Shenanigans begets shenanigans. I do believe that's somewhere in the Bible.
They I wouldn't know. I'm more of an Old Testament man.
Yeah, that's just true.
And I don't even know.
Give me your firstborn shenanigans.
Well, my firstborn is full of shenanigans. So man, you want him?
That's what kids do,
wake
man.
Him up.
That's what kids do.
But
no, I can't. You don't wake him up. I got buried treasure to go find.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Buried treasure. You're supposed to go find when we're done with this recording. You have to go do that. Then we'll wake him up. That's the order of things. Treasure first. Mm-hmm. Waking babies early, children early. second. But no, seriously, like we've talked about some of this before, and I know we've got our topic and we're going to get into that, but I feel like it's worth mentioning this ahead of time because you asked the question, did I expect this? No bullshit. I didn't expect when I went to see Justice League that I would end up in this amazing friendship that is also a partnership. I, particularly over the last year, have loved doing this with you. It has been a delight and a joy, and I'm game to keep doing this until you are actually tired of me. Because it's so much fun talking with you about these things, whether we agree or we disagree. I consider it a badge of honor that you name check my ass on your new website.
Yeah,
it's a choice. It's a choice that you're making that I disagree with, but I love that you did it anyway. Right? So the fact that we did 50, fuck, I'm surprised you invited me to do anything with you after that first round table with you, E, and Pres Rick.
No, I saw the potential there, and I was like, this must be harnessing the podcast energy. Did I tell you I wasn't even supposed to be at that Justice League screening?
Really?
Yeah.
What's up, No, wait, not Randall. Fuck, the other guy.
Dante?
Dante. What's
there
up, Dante?
There you go. My car had died like a couple days before that. I had found another car, and they were like, hey, come out on this day and give it a spin, see if it's something you want to check out. And I was like, ooh, that's a Justice League screening. So I reached out to my dad, and I was like, Dad, I need you to do me a solid. Can you go test drive this car while I go watch this movie? He was like, what? So
thank you, Dad.
He pulled through for me. I got there. When I got there, I think he had me right behind me in the line.
I think I was.
And history was made from there. And I was like, I got to sit close to this guy. I got to see what I can pick his brain after the show.
And here I was just thinking, shit, I'm sitting next to this guy. He's got this Facebook group, and he's doing these podcasts, and he's doing all these other things. Holy shit, I'm doing nothing.
He must be important. He wasn't.
Well, I still think you are.
Oh, no, I've been fooling you for years now, sir.
And here that I'm about to pull the mask off. I'm old man McNicholson under here, who would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those pesky kids. That's how I feel with all of this shit. So it's been an absolute delight. I'm looking forward to doing 50 more, and then 50 more after that.
Agreed.
It's the one thing that I particularly love about what we do and the way that we design the show is that it's not about telling people what to watch or what's the best of anything, but here's what we love and why we love it. We're going to pick for today. We're talking about party scenes, and the three that I chose aren't even necessarily the best parties in the world. You're going to look at my number one if you've seen it and go, okay, we're done with the cinnamon. This has been a delight. Thank you so much.
I think that every episode.
And yet you come back.
And yet
do the listeners.
Yeah,
apparently.
They do. Indeed.
So it's I think, at least for me, when I think of the shows that I have listened to, the videos that I watch, everyone is always breaking things down in a wonderful, truly wonderful way. Some wonderful essayists and a number of other things, but they're always looking at it in terms of what's the best and not necessarily what resonates.
Right. But yeah, and that's what it's all about. Like if you learn something, that's cool. That's dope. But we just kind of want to talk about, I know you said a couple of times on the show in the past that you don't like to tear down things. Like there's enough people out there that already do that. Looking at you, Cinema Sins. But yeah, I think Kevin Smith has also said the same thing. I'd rather talk about the things that I love. Yeah. And that's what we're all about on this show.
And he's apparently an easy weeper. I'm not picking on him in the slightest.
Sir, you're also an easy weeper.
I am, which is why I feel comfortable saying that about him.
Okay.
But I mean, he's gotten into, quote, trouble with people's reactions to him. It's like, dude, you cry over everything, because he saw Zack Snyder's Justice League and posted a photo of himself in full tears. Dude, you did that with I don't know, Blade 2. Like, chill a little bit. So
Yeah,
you say that about every Marvel movie, like you're in tears with.
right,
So,
right.
but I mean, certainly there are films that I do not enjoy, and I had a lot of fun, and I enjoyed some people's responses to not listening to our latest pinch of cinnamon, because why do I choose violence?
Woke up and chose the most bloody of violence.
But here's the thing: is at least with that, I bring to you, here are my issues. Here's a character I'm supposed to care about, but the movie doesn't do anything to me to make me care. And that's the movie's job. Hold on, we're not getting into that.
Yeah, I'd like to
But
take time to remind you that this is Party Scenes
no,
episode.
and I
We've already
understand.
recorded this episode,
I
and
know,
we're on a
and people
crunch for
should go
time.
listen to the people should go listen to the Patreon. But even then, when we're talking about stuff that we disagree on, we're not trying to tear it down. We're not trying to convince each other. And that's what I've really loved about doing that with you. I'm not trying to convince you that you shouldn't like Man of Steel. I'm trying to discuss with you why it doesn't work for me. And if you can explain to me why it does, okay, cool. And if not, that's fine. You can still love Man of Steel. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can still love Rogue One. And that's what I really enjoy about this. And when we bring guests on, when we talk about stuff, is they have the same ideas of let's talk about movies. There's enough people out there that are going, this sucks. Okay, great. Let's talk about what we dig and why we like it. Let's revel in that a little bit. So,
and speaking of revels, sir.
Well, what a little segue you got.
Speaking of rebels, I know you like to do your litany of 1,000,003 movies that constitute party scenes.
I just like to set the stage. That's all, man. It's not my fault that you sometimes happen to have picked films that I mentioned. I don't know what you picked.
The stage is party scenes, and I refuse to give you this option because I have to use this Rebels segue, sir.
Go for it.
My first one, speaking of Rebels, they bring it up in Avengers Age of Ultron. They got the scepter, and on the little ship back to the Avengers HQ, they say, Rebels? Yes, Rebels. And that is one of my favorite party scenes in all of movies. It does nothing to forward the plot of the movie.
No.
It's just Avengers fucking vibing, man. You don't even know half the people that are in the building, man. It's just your core cast, Helena Cho, Maria Hill, I don't know who the fuck invited her, and a bunch.
She's part of the team. She's part of the team. No, she's part of the team as of the end of Winter Soldier. She goes and gets a job with Tony.
She goes and gets a job with Tony.
Yes.
Air quotes, working for Nick Fury.
Or Coulson, depending on where you are.
That's true. That's true. It's just the dudes vibing out, man. And just partying up. There's some World War II vets there with Cap. Rhodey's there hanging out with Tony. You got Falcon also there hanging out with Cap. And it's just these guys who have all been through the ringer at some point. And recently, this giant, huge fight with Hydra, they got the prize, man, and they're just chilling out. And that leads into what really sets the stage for the Avengers, the hammer scene. Which is kind of like the end of the whole party scene. It's just the night's over. It's just the Avengers hanging out and taking turns trying to lift the hammer. Of course, that whole thing is the plant for the payoff of Vision picking up the hammer, but it's still a fun, witty banter. Everyone's laughing, having fun, enjoying themselves. The fact that Widow doesn't even bother to try, I think, is so on brand with her character.
I don't need to know.
Yeah, that's something I don't need to find out, boys. Banner faking out a whole transformation and all that is just good fun. Yeah. And that is one of my favorite. And of course, that little of Cap moving the hammer. Everyone's primed now for that end game scene. And we knew what was going on. Yes, my first one, Revels, man. Avengers Age of Ultron. Yes, Revels.
That is a phenomenal choice. If I were to redo my list, it would no, it still wouldn't end up on it for reasons I'll get into. But that is a phenomenal one. Simply because, yeah, you're right. They're just vibing. We get so few moments where they're just hanging out, doing stuff.
Yeah, and that's all off-screen downtime stuff, and it's good to see it at least once.
Exactly. And part of what's great is watching them interact with each other. Even in the preparation for the time heist, we got an interaction that we hadn't gotten since that hangout. And yeah, whether it was while that setup with Mjolnir was also that later Vision could grab it and everybody would be like, okay, I guess we're going to trust this guy.
Right.
You know, to see it reappear, something so small that hadn't really shown up again at all in Endgame. Just the reaction from the audience, from me personally, that I was part of, like just the unconscious, as Thor yells, "I knew it!" It's so fucking great. I don't know if I'll be able to keep this secret from Connor when he'll be old enough to actually watch all the movies. But man, if I don't have that special Funko of Cap holding Mjolnir.
Nice. They just released the Cap eating shawarma Funko yesterday, I think.
I have to agree with you. It's getting to be too much.
Out of
There's
control.
some of them where I'm like, we don't really need these, which I've got an off the mic question for you later, speaking of Cap. But
Fair enough.
keep this train rolling. My first one I chose because of a personal connection. All of these sort of are for one way or another. But this was a film this scene comes from a film that when it came out, I was, depending on the release, 4. So I didn't see it for a few more years.
Okay.
But this is a John Hughes, what I would consider classic, even though it does not age well with its misogyny, but it does feature Robert Downey Jr. Weird Science.
Weird Science is my creation, isn't it? Okay.
But the party at the end.
Okay.
When you've got the gang that shows up and the two dudes, they have to basically grow a set, face all of their fears. All of this was about them being horny and wanting to get laid. But they, as soon as they create her, they're like dogs chasing a car when the car stops. They don't know what the fuck
they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, not at all. And so it really does become a story about them stepping away from the toxic nerd and into something healthier that respects women, that respects themselves. And for someone who has been deeply self-conscious for most of my life, that scene is just so much fun to see them take charge and develop some actual agency in their own lives.
Right.
It's pretty damn great. So that's why I picked that scene.
That is a movie I have not seen. I haven't seen any John Hughes in years. But yeah,
they don't age well.
It's kind of why I've stayed away from them.
Yeah.
But still, there might be, because Hughes did Breakfast Club too, right?
And that even itself has some aspects.
Yeah, that would be the safest of them, maybe.
I definitely think it would be. I've seen parts of Weird Science. Arrow released I call it a 4K remaster, but it's not 4K UHD. It was just a restoration. And it looks fantastic. But I got as far as reading the essay from a film critic they got to write about it. And I was like, oh, I didn't think about this. And then I haven't had a chance to go back and rewatch it. But that's honestly what's kind of great is I can still have this emotional connection to it and still go, all right, when I inevitably show this to my sons, what conversation are we going to have about it?
That might be a decent idea for Pinches, talking about how to treat films that haven't aged well.
Writing it down.
Write it down. And while you write that down, did you have anything more for
No, move on, man. Move on to your number 2.
My number 2, talking about party scenes, man. Listen, if you're out there heisting some shit, you're under some duress, your girlfriend is part of the people trying to stop the heist from going down. I took on the Ocean's 12 here, man. And it is the weakest of the trilogy. I'm pretty sure that is almost universally agreed upon. But the very end, after it all goes down, they're all in their hotel rooms at that giant poker game, and they're all coming in one by one by one. A nice little montage, the music's going, the chips are flying, everyone's having drinks, having fun, having laughs. And then Catherine Zeta-Jones walks in, and the whole place just shuts down and stops, and they think they are super fucked, proper fucked, if it's Snatch. And then, speaking of Snatch, right after that, Brad Pitt comes in like, "Hey, I got you all there, yeah." And it's this giant eruption.
You got dogs?
Yeah, dogs. And it is one of my favorite party scenes because they're literally just there to celebrate. We just did this nigh impossible thing. Terry Benedict is off our asses. We get to keep our fucking heads, and things are chill. Like, the person who was pursuing us is now one of us. So things have came up roses for Danny Ocean and his gang. And just that high that they go out on is a high that I left the theater with, not very much loving the rest of the movie. Like, well, A Bad Oceans is still decent, but I had, again, expectations are killer. Coming off of 11, I was like, ooh, what do we got here? Then 12 kind of disappointed, but just that party scene kind of brought it back a little bit for me.
Yeah, I get that entirely. Although I would say Ocean's 12 for me gets a little bit better on rewatches because you start to see what it was they were doing and where they foresaw treachery coming ahead and how much of it was them play acting to get caught.
Yeah.
Although the bit with Bruce Willis is it's not great.
The idea of
for me,
of her playing a version of herself, I think, is corny, but then adding in someone who would tell that that's not her is a good idea. So I think that is a good idea that is couched within a corny idea.
That is fair.
Yeah, and to your point of, them kind of knowing what the game was the whole time and just play acting. Like, at the end, I kind of felt betrayed. Like, they weren't too much really ever in real danger because they had the whole game figured out. Exactly. And that kind of lowered the stakes a lot for me.
It's still, but I think that's what's really interesting is when you go back and watch it is, it might feel that way, but then you start to realize what that movie is actually about and what it's trying to do. And you get that it was about getting people off their backs, and therefore that part succeeds, but they have to trick the audience in the way that these heist confidence films do. It's not like Rafifi heist film where it's really straightforward. This one is the kind sleight of hand where even the audience isn't necessarily in on it. Like in the first one where we didn't know that,
when Saul goes down, we think it's all fucked from here.
Yeah.
No, that's part of the plan.
That's part of the plan. The fact that they're down in the basement. No, they're watching a recording of everything else, and they tipped you off to it a little bit, but you just didn't know that what you were seeing was the SWAT vehicle. Yeah. And that's kind of what I liked about Ocean's 13 is that it's sort of a really nice mix of the two where you sort of know what's going on, but you sort of don't know what's going on. So you're in it, but you're not. Yeah. And so no, that's a great one.
Yeah, thank you. And what else you got for me, sir?
Okay, mine is sort of going to come out of nowhere, and on the fly, we're going to have a bit of an audio component to this. You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. Then.
Everybody is going to understand why I picked this. And this is recording. Theoretically, it's going to pick up the audio as well. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That's right. That is Confusion by New Order. And it comes from the opening of Blade. You can't fucking tell me when you're talking about party scenes. Yes, we think of revels. But what if we're talking about death? We set up, like, this is the first time we've seen Blade on screen. And we get introduced to him by way of Tracy Lords luring a guy to a rave, which back in the 90s, tons of raves. Don't know how popular they are these days.
I'm pretty sure rave is born out of the word rebel.
Probably. And we get, oh yeah, we're going to have a party. And then blood falls from the sky.
Yeah.
until holy shit, it's the Daywalker, and he just beats the shit out of all of them. That sequence is so great in the way that it sets up the rest of the film. It sets up the tone that it's going to be a little bit playful. It's going to be dark. There's going to be well staged, for the most part, action sequences, and that there is going to be weight and consequence. They're dancing in blood.
Right. I was like, what the fuck kind of movie am I watching right now?
An amazing one.
Yeah, it's true. Very
An
true.
amazing one.
Amazing one.
And we should be totally fine because I played like maybe a total of 6 seconds.
Yeah, I'm sure
of the song, so we should be fine there. But if you've seen Blade, you know that scene. It is so fucking good. And honestly, if Mahershala Ali in his edition had a moment like that, and like they used confusion again, I'd be done. I'd be dead in my seat. It would be over, and I would have no idea what was happening after that.
That, or if Mahershala tells me that some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill, I'll take either or.
God. Anyway, no, it's just that Blade 1 in particular. I do like Blade 2, but Blade 1 does hold up.
It does.
Warner did a 4K release, and technology not so great in terms of how it transitions when he becomes the blood god, but that scene still so good, and it sounds amazing. So that is my number 2. What is your?
Not bad. My final for this bit of business, man. It talked about the end of a scene in Age of Ultron, the end of that first act leading into the Rebels, and then you talk about in Ocean's 12 the end of a movie leading into Rebels, and here I have the end of a trilogy leading into Rebels. Man, the bad guys have been defeated. Our heroes are safe and sound, and all you want to do is yub nub, man. I tried to get you while you were drinking on that one.
I don't want to buy new equipment by spitting my water all over.
You gotta yub nub, man. This is a contribution from one Leslie Ellsworth, man. She was like, you gotta have yub nub in there somewhere, and she's 100% correct. In this instance, where I am very much a fan of the special edition version of this, you can take this one of two ways. You can take the original 83 Return of the Jedi with Yub Nub, which is a party. It's like, hey, we're here with these dudes who helped us out at the very end of this thing. We did it. We beat the bad guy. Man, let's celebrate. We got the celebratory song and Yub Nub. Let's party with these guys. Or you can go with the 97 re-release, which is far more emotional with Williams' score. With it's more tapping, it's less tapping into the and more tapping into the evil is vanquished. And I prefer the
or is it
one.
though?
Or is it though?
Palpatine has risen.
Palpatine has arrived somehow. Has returned somehow.
Sorry,
Jesus Christ.
Going on. Sorry.
But yeah, I think the special edition one is more soulful, but it hits more on your emotions. But Yub Nub is just a fucking party, man. You got Ewoks fucking xylophoning on stormtroopers' helmets. You got cats dancing in the streets. You got Lando clapping at the very end. Luke walks up. Han Solo's just overjoyed to see him. It's a reunion of friends, man. It's like the final celebration. The last time, theoretically, at the time that we would ever see these characters all together on screen. And the Yub Nub it's a great song to go out on.
That I almost don't want to reduce our list by giving my last one after that.
Well,
Yub Nub. Who follows Yub Nub?
If it's Vanilla Ice, sir, then we can just cut this off right
here.
No.
Ninja Rap did not make it on the
list. Thank God. Oh, thank God. I've been dreading this all day.
Although, here's why. In this essay, no. We ain't got time for that. No, it's just I agree with you in terms of the different feelings. I've never really liked the special edition ending because it focused on the galaxy doing everything. And in this trilogy, we haven't followed the galaxy. It wasn't as large as the prequel trilogy was.
Mm-hmm.
The original trilogy was more focused on these specific characters, and it felt to me out of rhythm with everything else. by pulling back to see how the rest of the galaxy was responding to the loss of the Empire, and also changing the song, which is so quintessential. But then again, that song is specific to Endor.
Yes.
So I get that. And they've each got their place. I'll stick with Yup Dub.
I'm 100% John Williams' soul all day long on that, and I'm in the vast minority on that, but I will fight it until the day I die. What's your last pick there, sir?
I'm just gonna say for the record that were yours. While some might not consider them necessarily high class, we're talking Ocean's 12, we're talking Avengers: Age of Ultron, but they're certainly classier than my picks. And so I'm going to end on the classless, the most classless.
There you go.
Of
That's
all
much
choices,
better.
by giving you 3 words to see if you can figure out this party from this movie.
Oh boy.
Everybody gets laid.
Caddyshack?
Nope.
Oh, that's what Rodney Dangerfield says in Caddyshack. Everybody, we're all going to get laid.
That was really good, actually.
That was one thing I do a great Dangerfield. No, unless it's Zion in Matrix 2, where everybody's getting laid.
Well, yeah, they are. Everybody Gets Laid. It's the name of the band, the house band, in a little movie called PCU from '94.
I never did see this movie.
Oh my God. It is not great. Very much of the era in which it was made. It's just another frat comedy that in a way wants to be Animal House, but isn't Animal House. It's got Jeremy Piven, Jon Favreau, Alex Desert, let's see, Matt Ross. I think we've got, he's not in this. Oh yeah, David Spade is in this, Jake Busey, and God damn it, I was talking about her last night and I've forgotten her name again. Waters. Jessica Walters, who passed away.
Jessica Walters is She-Hulk in Marvel Comics.
Help me out here. She did the Arrested Development voice of
Jennifer Walters.
Oh, I am so sorry, everybody. I am so sorry. You are
Jessica Walter.
Okay, well, Jessica Walter. She plays a dean at a school whose initials are PCU, and the whole thing is about how everybody is so uptight and repressed, and this one frat house wants to get everybody to loosen up, so they throw a party to help them raise enough money to pay their fines, not get kicked off campus. And they call it Everybody Gets Laid, and it just pisses off more people. And at the end of the movie, in order to rally everybody together, Jeremy Piven's like, we're not going to protest. We're not going to protest. And then it leads to a chant of, we're not going to protest. So anytime I hear somebody complaining or saying that they're not going to complain, I'm like, we're not going to protest. So when I think of parties, I do tend to think of PCU. George Clinton and P-Funk play at this party by sheer happenstance. By sheer happenstance. There's a guy who doesn't get up from the party because he's watching a bunch of movies to meet his thesis about 2 actors who just so happen to be in a movie together. And he goes to stand up and falls the fuck over. This movie is dumb.
Okay.
Dumb. It was written by one of the co-writers, Zach Penn, who, by the way, just not for nothing, he wrote the story for the Avengers. He wrote the screenplay for Ready Player One, for Free Guy, for a bunch of other stuff. And this is the best part. This is the best bit of trivia about this fucking movie. Does the name Hart Bochner mean anything to you? This is the director of this movie.
No.
He played the character Ethan in Supergirl. He does the voice of Arthur Reeves in Batman Mask of the Phantasm. I will give you one more hint. You ready?
Okay.
He is Ellis in Die Hard.
Oh!
He directed this movie. He directed this movie.
The most punchable face in film. Hans Bubby. Okay.
He went from PCU to High School High, just to give you a sense of his filmography as a director. But This movie, it is ridiculous. It's very much of its era in 98. It is super dumb, but if you go back and watch it, you'll also see a lot of faces and go, oh, wow, this was their early work. And it has an incredibly fun, super fucking fun. It was probably my introduction to George Clinton party scene. And it is the penultimate. We're bringing everybody together. So I may write this down as a challenge for you, sir. You will not thank me later.
Fair enough.
You might. I don't know. But anyway,
I might.
Those are my 3.
Solid list, sir. A solid list of 3.
So these have been our parties.
Yeah, these are our parties. These are our revels.
Would very quickly, before we go, and I know it's time. Amusingly enough, it's a special episode that's ending early. Of all of our episodes, with all the topics that we've talked about, all the challenges that we've gone through, what has been your favorite episode? What's the first thing that comes to mind as your favorite episode?
Why would you not give me a prep for that so I could go back and look and have a prepared answer for this?
I'm disappointed in you for not knowing exactly which one was our best episode.
You know what? Well, obviously it's episode 10.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Yeah, it's the primer. It's the primer episode.
The primer episode is by far the best episode in cinema history. No,
you had it right the first time. Cinema history. Yeah. a podcast that's not a movie is still the best thing about cinema history.
Yeah. So I felt like it was important to make sure we were still on the same page.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. As we look back on the last 50, our 10th is still the pinnacle. But I think we can get close in future episodes.
I agree. I mean, some could say that, since 10 has been downhill, but it's time for us to we're gonna get back to
put on those hiking boots.
We're gonna put on those hiking boots. It's one of my favorite things that Stephen King said when people say, like, The Stand is my favorite, and he was like, so since the 80s, I just haven't done anything to top that.
Yeah, these last 40, nothing.
Just cranking out classic after classic, but just not topping, huh? I'm pretty sure we'll have much more shenanigans to come with another 50 episodes. Who knows? Maybe, we barely scraped the surface in the primer episodes. We might have a primer part 2. Who knows?
Ooh, a redux?
A redux. You know what? No bullshit aside, we need to see if we can use our modicum amount of weight and pull to see if we can get that director on to talk about primer and pick his fucking brains. Because
say we do it.
Every time I'm just like, I give up halfway through the movie. Nope.
He might be sick and tired of talking about it. That it might be a thing.
You know what? You're probably right. Because nothing else he may enter that did any good. So yeah, man. That you got anything else for people? What I do believe this was my idea. Do you have any ideas for what 51 should be?
Something fun and amazing. We're gonna come back with a less stellar episode, but a top 5 of 2021.
That's right.
The question will be, will Bo Burnham be in the top 5? Will he?
No, look at that as a call to tease for you people.
Listen to the next episode to find out if Bo makes it.
Listen to find out. The actual episode is just going to be called If Bo Makes It. What is this If Bo Makes It? I thought they were talking about their top 5 for the year. Okay. I will be spending the next couple of weeks watching a bunch of movies that I have on the list just to make sure my list is solid before we record. I have a tentative 5. Now it's a matter of seeing if 3, 4, and 5 can hold on for dear life.
If anybody would like to know what my current top whatever is, go to my letterbox.
Go to the letterbox, man.
It's already there.
I'm shrouded in secrecy, my friend.
I'm wide open. If I were any more exposed, I'd get arrested. But I'm in my house, and Daryl can only see me from the neck down.
Thank God for the wonders of technology.
Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for coming along with us for the last 50 episodes. Daryl, thank you so much for being best partner a guy could ask for doing this kind of thing.
Likewise, thank you for being game for this silliness that is Paprika, and that the silliness translates over into this show, because talking about movies, I think, should be fun.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, films can be art, and sometimes they can just be fun. And let's have fun talking about the fun, and let's have fun talking about the art too. So there you go, done and done. We will be back in a couple of weeks to reveal, as 2021, we're almost halfway through, man. We're gonna figure out what our top 5 of the year so far. So join us, won't you, next time around on the Cinnamon. Take it easy.
Later.